Danaher, what do you think's going to happen tomorrow? Do you think there are any matches? Obviously, you're going with your guys, like you're confident in your athletes. But are there any other matchups on the card that you feel are really intriguing?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a fascinating event. First off, you've got the whole uncertainty element of the tournament, because you never really know what's going to happen in a tournament. Of course, there's the initial matchups, but there's so many X factors in a tournament. Someone could get injured but still win a match and be compromised in the next round. So you can never really make predictions as to how a tournament will go. Obviously, Nicky Rod will come in as the big favorite. He had a huge performance last time in this very event. He does very well under this rule set. So he'll be a clear favorite, but he's got two tough matches to get through to the final. Big Dan's trained extremely well, but he's facing a world champion in his first match, and the winner of Haysam Rida versus an unknown Russian is extremely tough. People underestimate this kid. He's very, very tough. And there's a lot of X factors in the tournament. With regards the fascinating female match, Helena Kraver has a huge amount of momentum, but is obviously much younger and much lower in rank than her opponent, who's a black belt world champion. And so it's hard to pick who will be the favorite for this match. Helena's got a lot of momentum behind her, but she's still very young compared with her opponent, and doesn't have that belt ranking pedigree yet. I think one of the most interesting matches will be Nicholas Marigali versus Cyborg. Cyborg is a legend, both gi and no gi, but it's probably fair to say in the last decade, most of his accolades have come in the gi. They've fought each other, in no gi competition. They have fought each other twice in the gi. It was a long time ago, and it was a very different rule set. This is under EBI rules. Nicholas has done incredibly well in a relatively short period of time, no gi, but he's facing a legend now, an ADCC former champion, and a guy who's won no gi worlds 8 times. So this is going to be a huge test for him.
I'd love to hear your thoughts on Roman Bravo Young stepping in.
Yeah, I feel I can talk about that because Roman used to train with us in the basement in New York. He is one of the most gifted athletes you will ever see in your life. He is, in my opinion, the best positional scrambler that I ever saw. Remember, in Jiu Jitsu, you got 2 kinds of scrambles: submission scrambles and position scrambles. He comes from a wrestling background, and so he's a master of positional scrambles. He's developing submissions under the tutelage of a student of mine, Brian Glick, and he's becoming very good at strangles out of front headlock in the back. He's inexperienced, but let me tell you, this kid is fireworks.
He's not an inexperienced competitor, though.
That's for sure.
In a lot of ways,
in
that's
fact, I would
just
say
as important.
in terms of this pure competition, he is actually the most experienced out of anyone on this card. But Jiu-Jitsu competition is significantly different. The big concern is he might get caught by something weird that he just doesn't know about yet.
He's got that anaconda choke.
He's got good submissions. Alex Perez he's an MMA fighter, but he's got very good jiu-jitsu. He's a
bit of a wrestling background also.
And the question will be, does he have enough of a wrestling background to slow down the onslaught and then get into submissions? So that's a very interesting match. I think that one, people are sleeping on that match. That could end up being the match of the night. So I'm very, very curious to see that one. And of course, the big one is Craig Jones versus the great Felipe Pena. I always wanted, when Craig used to train with us, I always wanted Craig to fight Felipe. I thought it would be a great match for Craig. I thought that stylistically, Craig would do very well. Obviously, things have changed a lot since then. I don't know what Craig's training schedule is these days, but I still believe that stylistically he's a great match against Felipe Pena. Pena does have a height and size advantage.
Yeah, about 25 pounds, I think, on the way
but
in.
Craig's very strong for his weight. Don't underestimate his strength. He may be giving away a few pounds, but he's very, very
He also
strong.
moves weight super efficiently.
Yeah. It's a short match. They shortened it to 12 minutes, so I'm not sure how that will. It may favor Craig being a smaller athlete. In overtime, Craig will have a huge experience advantage, and at that level, how you deal with the overtime is a big, big deal. I think a lot of people tend to overlook this rather obvious fact. And Craig has a huge experience advantage in the overtime. So I think this could be a good one for Craig.
So speaking of overtime, The UFC is choosing to go with EBI rules. I know we got a couple of special match rules coming up.
But most of them are EBI.
But yeah, the tournament's entirely EBI, and then even most of the special matches, aside from Roman and Anthony Smith versus Glover Teixeira, have a separate rule set as well. But everything else is EBI overtime. So UFC choosing to run with that. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't think it's a permanent decision. They're still in an experimental phase. I know a lot of the athletes aren't happy with it because they believe that EBI is very good for the spectators because it creates a lot of drama. There's a lot of potential drama. It allows underdogs to have a higher success rate than favorites. So some of the athletes aren't happy. I know there's also a push for ADCC rules in the future, but one thing's for sure, this event has EBI. And as we've seen in the past, EBI does allow a greater percentage chance for an underdog to beat a favorite. So expect some drama, expect some hijinks, and expect some things that no one saw coming.
Do you have any personal feelings about that, about the rule sets? Like, if you were the man hired to be the new director of moving this thing forward?
Well, when it comes to rule set, I'm going to favor any rule set which enables the best prepared and most skilled athlete to have the highest chance of winning. Now, the question, of course, is, okay, well, which rule set does that? I don't believe there's any perfect rule set, and nor do I believe that there is a rule set which will somehow magically get you around the problem of stalling and competitors who come in with a defensive mindset. For me, what determines how an athlete performs is much more the culture they train in than it is the rule set they play under. If they come from a culture which makes them go aggressively into attacks and put on a performance, they will do that regardless of the rule set. If they come from a culture which stresses safety first, do the minimum amount to win, they will do that regardless of the rule set. It's much more about culture than rule set. And the good news is, most of the athletes who are here tonight have a proven track record of going out there, taking risks, fighting hard for submissions, and showing what we all like best about Jiu Jitsu, which is controlled release the submission. So I'm confident it'll be a good show.
Thanks so much for talking to me.
to see
I
you.
really appreciate you taking the time.